Hi, I'm Pamela.
And I'm Susanna. Welcome to The GUSSIE, our weekly podcast for design junkies.
At The GUSSIE, we break down the process of design and decode the many components that go into creating beautiful spaces, from treasure hunting to furniture layouts, textiles, and much, much more.
We're friends and design partners who believe everyone should be able to create a stylish home that reflects who they are and how they want to live.
Plus, we love to talk. Let's get into it.
Hi, Pamela.
Hi, Susanna.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. What is new?
Oh, boy. You always start with that question.
Okay, I'll start.
Put me on the hot seat. What's new, Susanna?
Okay, so I saw the most informative yet frightening documentary called The Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yes.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I have not seen it, but it is something, I believe it has all to do with, our devices tracking us, all of the things like that.
Devices tracking us and just, I think the general takeaway was just how technology is changing our minds and changing behavior. And it's really interesting because it was a lot of former tech bigwigs, and they are all worried about the change in across humanity.
Right. They've unleashed a monster, and now they're sort of like, how do we get it back in the cage?
And the most interesting thing I thought was when they said that they don't have their children use devices. Literally, and certain apps, even apps that they created, are no-nos for their kids.
Right.
And, so my husband and I this week, it's been a long summer and long spring vacation, as we know, since the kids have been out of school for a long time. With school starting, we have really tried to get the kids off their devices, and we're doing what we call an iPause Mondays through Fridays, where they just don't have any computer, electronics, nothing.
Well, that works, I think, when the kids are very little, but for kids my age, or my kids' age, it's very difficult because, the schools operate with online classes. They're operating on, Google Docs and shared information. So it's sort of, it's very difficult to combat that.
Well, I was just going to say the same thing. Even with my kids being younger, we're still, I'm finding, we're on an iPause, and then we get homework and it's like, download this app and do, extra math, or, your child this is a great ABCya is a great website to supplement. And so it's really difficult to stick to it because it's like, I'm a police.
Right. How do you put parameters down on online usage when your education is online?
Yes.
It's very difficult, and it's hard for children to navigate the differences between this is an educational moment and this is, fun moment.
I totally agree. And what was interesting is with my littlest, who's 6 years old, and she is definitely our most sort of tech savvy
kid. Of course,
kid.
She grew up.
She grew up with devices in the home. And literally she thinks she's going to be a TikTok star. And she might be. It's a little frightening, but she is out there and she is making videos, with our dog and weird music and,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Does that scare you?
Yes, it does. It scares me at the same time. One of the reasons why we sort of let our guard down with social media was because of the pandemic. We felt like, okay, these kids need to have some social outlet. And so that's been difficult. Before the pandemic, we were really strict about it.
Should we go to today's topic?
Our topic today is called, Should the Carpet Match the Drapes? And it is, of course,
a euphemism.
A euphemism. It's got a multiple entendre. But what we're really talking about is carpets, and then we're going to segue into drapes.
Yeah. It's a little catchy title.
Very catchy.
Title for a topic where, sometimes some people think carpets are a little bit boring, but they're very exciting in our world.
They are exciting.
Yes.
And they're the base of so much that we do.
Absolutely.
So what are some of your your big do's or your don'ts for carpets?
Well, whenever I'm looking at, first of all, whenever I'm thinking about carpets for a particular room, I always think about traffic flow and what's going on in that room. So, if it happens to be a hallway and it's used a lot, you want to make sure there's no slipping. You want to find something that might prevent the sound from, echoing in the hallway. So those are some of the things that I look at, are sort of how the room is going to be used. And then I also look at how how important the rug is in terms of the overall design. So, for a room where everyone is sort of like neutrals and, subtle textures and things like that, then I want to find rugs that work within that. I also try to find things that are...
Or maybe for the neutrals, maybe you want a rug that pops and brings in sort of like a bigger design.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love statement carpets.
Yes.
Because, for some people, carpets are afterthoughts, but for designers, they're sort of forethoughts, right? That carpet in the walls and, what do they call, and ceilings. Those are all like the
bones.
Yeah, the bones of the design. So definitely with carpets, I love to find things that are inspirational and really change the room.
Yeah.
And I think when you're looking at a carpet like, say, a wool carpet for your children's bedroom, because I tend to go more organic and not synthetic in bedrooms.
Yep.
I'm a little weirded out about synthetic in bedrooms. Yep. I always feel like there's some hidden thing that I'm going to find out 20 years down the line. Like, there was a chemical used in this carpet.
In nylon or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for boys, I like sort of basic things that are, handsome and timeless.
Yes.
For my daughter or for girls' rooms, I like to mix it up a little bit, and some patterns, some bold patterns are great, especially if the walls are pretty simple.
Right. So since we're talking bedrooms and carpets in bedrooms, do you typically do a wall-to-wall, or will you do an offset, like a 5 to 10 inch offset?
It depends, depending on, in the last 10 years, hardwood floors have become so ubiquitous all over homes, and people think it's like
blasphemous to cover them up.
Right. Like, I can't cover it.
Yeah.
But for a bedroom, I like a wall-to-wall carpet.
I do too.
I just didn't think it feels good. It softens the room.
The thing it really solves is, bedrooms tend to be smaller, especially kids' bedrooms tend to be smaller.
Opens the space up.
Then it does, and it also allows you don't have any of those awkward half on, half off with the furniture, which really generally is not an issue on the first floor. You just sort of roll with it. Your sofa's probably going to be half on, half off. Your end table, that's fine. But, in a smaller space, having to play with that border can really throw things off. It can really throw off a bed. Sometimes the bed legs are thicker than the space between the carpet and the wall. And then you have the situation where it's like the leg is half on the carpet, half off.
Right.
So I really like a wall-to-wall in the bedroom. I do agree that
it feels cleaner.
It does. I know
don't
people.
know why.
I also like it when it extends into the closet. And I know that people.
Plus, who's going to really go into a closet and mop the floor?
Oh, exactly.
If you have carpet throughout the rest of the room.
Exactly.
So I like it in adjoining hallways.
Me too.
Obviously not in bathrooms, not the best look.
Not good.
Was good in the 60s.
Oh,
no.
God. Seriously. But speaking of wall to wall, that actually flows into one of my big don'ts, which is no wall to wall on the first floor or on the stairs. I am like, that to me is like 80s or 70s, conference room, like just not good. I think that for your first floor, and listen, we know that like a lot of this is splurging. For your first floor, if you can splurge on a custom cut carpet, and oftentimes what that entails is someone coming to your house and binding it on site. Not every room,
measuring and binding.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it.
not every room will need it. You will have some, there are those just sort of like really lucky rooms that don't have cutouts. You don't have a hearth that sticks out, or it's just a really great shape. And you can order, a custom size online and have it sent, and you don't need to have someone bind it on site. However, if you have a chunky hearth that sticks out, if you put a rectangle size rug in there and you don't put a rug that cuts around it, you're totally limited.
So I think
space-wise.
awkward shaped rooms
Yes.
need a little bit more hand holding with the rug and the installation.
Yep.
And so you're thinking basements, wall to wall is fine.
Totally fine in a basement. I think basement
And upstairs bedrooms.
Yep.
Great runners
Yes.
down the hallways
Yep.
and common areas.
Yeah, so that's another good point. So the runner, so typically what we find here in New England, and I know there's that different areas have different architecture, but is that, let's take the typical center hall colonial that we see so much of.
Right.
You have a spindle staircase, banister. And so I like to run a carpet, either Hollywood or waterfall, which just sort of it's just how it's tucked onto the stairs. Does it tuck under the stair that's right above it? Or
On
is
that
it just
ridge.
sort of on that ridge? Exactly. Or is it just sort of floating above? I think either is fine. Total personal preference.
How many inches do you typically
So hard
from?
to say because of course
Depends on the width of the stair, the look. And also the other thing that's really important when you're installing your rugs, and if you have a rug person that you have worked with before and they are knowledgeable, people listen to your tradesmen. They offer sage advice, and they will walk you through things and tell you. I mean, recently I was told, that a certain carpet would not work in the basement because of a staircase out the back, and we wanted to save money and not have to reorder a whole nother run of carpet. And so listen to these people.
Totally.
This is your team.
One of my most recent don'ts, I used to have every carpet. And I love a good sisal. I know we're going to talk about type of carpets later. So, in the sisal carpet, oftentimes you'll see a canvas binding on the outside. So that was my go-to look for my clients and for myself for a number of years. I am now drawing back on that and have just been doing a matching serge, which is where they,
How about leather?
Or I will do that, or leather. And the reason why I can't stand canvas,
it gets dirty.
Filthy.
And just it. Ugh, it's just gross.
So I replaced a sisal carpet in my own house just because, for a variety of reasons. And by the way, I could have salvaged the carpet and just replaced the binding, but there was a tear elsewhere. We'll get, story for another time. But when we took the binding was just so filthy.
But you can change the binding.
Yes.
Relatively easy.
Yes.
So, when it gets dirty and gross, you can call someone to have it rebound.
But I will say, if you're looking for a more durable option, either a leather, which can be a very cool look, or a serging is for the carpet surround, those are just better bets. So it's just, it used to be.
I don't love sisal on stairs. I know it's a look that everybody sort of, it was a go-to for the last 10 years, 15 years, but it's not one of my favorite,
agreed,
types of carpet to use on a staircase. Number one is if you don't get the loop right.
Yeah.
And you're wearing high heels.
Oh, yep.
You could take a serious nosedive on that staircase.
Totally. Absolutely. And
and then the way it wears,
it's just also
it starts
not
to
cozy.
No,
sisals I think, sisals are a natural fiber. And again, we're going to talk a little bit later when we get to our GUSSIE for today about it. So I won't say too much now, but they're very raw and they're not cozy. And one other thing this just reminds me that
they do cover up a lot of sins.
They do, which is why
they are great when you have a serious budget.
Yep.
And you need to order something and you just want it to be extremely neutral. You're not using the room a lot. I mean, let's be honest, sisals have been the backbone of a lot of people's interiors over the last few years.
They absolutely are. They're a great neutral palette. They bring a texture into it. As you said, I know a lot of people worry about their durability. I find that as far as carpets go, I have an easier time keeping my sisols clean. And but one thing I will just mention that again, this is just about relying on the experts. If you're a designer, one of our carpet representatives told me, and I was talking about how I needed a comfortable carpet, and the clients were really, it was about comfort and feel. It was really important to the husband. And he said, just remind your clients that your hands have tens of thousands more nerve endings in them than your feet. So whenever you are checking out a carpet, people often use their hands to see how it feels.
But you really should walk on it.
You should walk on it.
Right.
Because so if you feel something with your hands, you may say outright not comfortable enough. However, it may be a different story with your feet. So I thought that was
and then
really
also
smart.
you have to think about how you clean your carpet as well, because I recently put in a carpet in a room where the suction on the Miele vacuum was very high, and it pulled the loop.
Yep.
And it happened to have a pattern, so it's not like we could repair it.
Yep.
And it was a pretty big loop that was pulled.
That's
also a total bummer.
Pets can do that too, and it is when they scratch out a loop, it is a major bummer. Well, that is a good point though, because I know a lot of vacuum cleaners do have special settings for carpets.
They do, and you can put them on low settings for certain carpets.
Yep.
So when you have a yarn that's looped, you want to make sure you're on the lowest setting.
Yeah.
You also don't want to use a cleaning product where you're scrubbing too much, because you can actually just sort of
totally
annihilate the pile.
By the way, I've done that. I've tried to get the slime out, and I've used the toothbrush with the carpet cleaner, and I've done that.
And it irritates the fibers, and they sort of stick up, and then they never go back down.
They never go back. And so even if you get the stain out, that little patch, because the fibers are not moving normally the way the other ones are, that little patch stays sort of stubbornly odd. Mm-hmm. So, I think just to kind of wrap up our carpet chat, because I know we're going to get to the drapes. One thing, that just I'm curious for you, I think you are more drawn to statement rugs than I am. I tend to, and we all design in different ways, I tend to use more neutrals because I'm such a wallpaper drape fiend that, I sort of tend to like my carpets to be relatively neutral. But I'm always I have to just say, I always admire designers, and you do it, and I know Katie Ritter does a ton of it, Katie Ritter starts her rooms by going to vintage,
finding great area rugs.
Yeah. And that will build the room for her.
Of course. It's like your art. You start with your floor, and you see some colors in that carpet that you love, and you can build a whole room around it. Or, I always tell people it's a lot harder to find a good carpet than it is everything else.
Yep.
So let's start with the floor.
Well, so that is actually one of my, it's on my sort of like to-dos, my aspirational list of, maybe next project, or, when I find the right project, starting with the carpet and finding something that's really a statement carpet, and just working in a different way. I really want to do that.
It's easier to do that for yourself than it is with clients, because often with clients, they want to be presented with things.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to go out and find a carpet, show it, and then your client says, oh, I want to see it. It might be somewhere else where it's not easily available to show your client.
Right.
So you have to, as a client, you've got to have a leap of faith when the designer really wants to pull in a vintage carpet or an antique carpet.
So maybe my next house, Pam, will you hold my hand and take me shopping for a vintage carpet?
It could be at High Point. They always have those rug dealers.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They bring in piles and piles of rugs.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, but I know. Literally, they're piled.
I know.
And you have to peel them
And
back.
when you find one you love, it's like, Be Still My Heart.
Be Still My Heart.
This is amazing.
Well, so we're segueing to drapery because I actually feel like when I walk into someone's home, oftentimes it's the drapery that is the first thing that catches my eye. Or one of the reasons why I love Jeffrey Bill Huber so much is his drapery is to die for.
Right. I mean, there are people who just specialize in drapery.
I know.
And a great designer might have someone on, like, I'm sure Kelly Wursler has someone on her team that just does drapery.
So let's talk about some of our favorite sort of go-tos. I can start with mine. So my go-tos for the living room, dining room are panels. With a self-return rod. I tend to like a brushed gold. Listen, obviously it depends on the hardware in the house. But these days I'm really into that sort of like antique gold, nice thick hardware. I like to do the pinched pleat, which is a little bit more casual than the box pleat. And I love a pattern drape, especially in a formal living room, or even, and we say formal, like no one lives formally these days anymore. But I love a pattern drape somewhere. And I also love doing a drape with a plain fabric and doing a fabulous tape running down the sides.
Right.
That's sort of
the leading edge to a really nice. It's funny. Lately, I've noticed that I am sort of anti-drapery.
I know. I've noticed that about you. In building your house, you're doing like a wall of windows and doors.
Mm-hmm. I have. I always feel like we have to peel back the drapery when we go into a home now. It's like we have to sort of look at the room, and especially if someone says, I want to refresh, and they say to you, can I save the drapery? And I always ask them, the first thing I ask is, do you really need drapery? Are people peeking in? Yeah. Because I think one of the best things about having windows is being able to look outside.
I agree. And I just have to interject and tell you a huge don't of mine is blinds on the first floor. I find that and obviously anything in your living room or dining room that is plastic or
because
acrylic,
you like to see the
beauty of the window. I like to see the beauty of the window. I like to see the beauty of the neighborhood. And listen, if privacy is so important, and you live in a really sort of a town where the houses are really close together, do like a bamboo or a wood or something, something like that. But I really dislike those, the typical slat blinds that I see in a lot of homes. And it's always a revelation to my clients when I say, we can get rid of those. Do you really need those?
Right. So my no-no with homes, I cannot stand when I walk into someone's dining room and I see Roman shades.
Me too. That's why I agree.
It's agree. No shade. No. You cannot. Yeah. If you're going to have a window treatment in the dining room, it should be panels.
I agree. I think a Roman shade is a great.
It's a great bathroom. It's a great kid's bedroom. So
And I know you love great sheers like I do, and I've been doing a lot of sheer Roman shades in the bathroom. And you line it so that the fabric itself is sheer. It's sort of gauzy, but you line it so that it does give some privacy, but still lets light in. And I love that in a bathroom. I just think it's so light and ethereal and really floats.
What I love in a bathroom is what I have, which is it's a top-down shade.
I know. Those are great.
So I love to sit in my bathtub and look out the window. And obviously, I don't want my neighbors across the way looking into my bathroom window when I'm taking a bath.
Neighbors would be psyched about that.
Exactly. So we drop the shade so it sort of covers from your shoulders down.
I love that.
Or, your chest down. And then we can sit in the tub. Oh, I say we. Okay, I can sit in the tub.
Do you sit in the tub with Greg?
Yeah. Often. I know, which is actually really funny because if I do sit in the tub with him, this is so off topic.
Is Greg going to be are we going to have to cut this, or is Greg going to be okay with this?
I will sit in the tub with him often.
Okay.
We will sit in the tub and just chat. Yeah. But I make him take his bath first, clean the water out, and put fresh water in.
I totally would too.
That is so skeevy.
Oh, so skeevy.
I'm not
sorry.
getting.
We love our husbands, but they're so dirty.
I am not getting into your janky bathtub water.
No. Can I just tell
sitting
you though?
in it and like seeing hairs float.
Okay.
So clean it out. Clean it out. I will sit in it with you. And the other thing is, don't take all my space because he argues with me about where his feet will go.
How big is your bathtub?
It's pretty big.
Yeah, okay.
But it's nice because it's a little bit of an older tub.
Yeah.
And it has like sort of it curved on both sides. And I love my bathtub.
Yeah.
And I'm building a new house and I have to pick a new bathtub out.
You need a giant bathtub. Like you guys should, well, by the way, I recently...
Wouldn't that be called a hot tub?
Yeah, well, okay, so no, this is a different show, but no jets. Because you know what? I like a clawfoot,
Why no jets?
Oh, because
they suck in stuff?
Correct.
No, the new ones don't. The new ones push. They're air filtered. No,
okay.
That's so passe.
Okay. All I know is the amount of clients that I have had to replace disgusting bathtubs with jets from like the 90s where like who knows what like gunk is coming out. So gross. But wait, I have to, there is you should get a like bronze or brass cast iron tub. I have to send you, there's this place in London that makes
is it called like Phenologans or something?
I'm not sure. I have to look it up. Okay, I have to look it up because a girlfriend
and they come
of mine
in different colors. I saw it. I know. I saw it.
Incredible.
I'm looking at that
and
tub.
And it's so your vibe.
The problem with tubs today, the modern tubs, is the edges are very thin.
Yep.
And I tend to like a thicker edge because I like to rest a pillow.
Totally.
Or put a book down or things like that.
Yep.
So like tubs that sit freestyle in a bathroom are difficult. You have to get a table, pull it up, and it's never enough.
Right.
I really do like it. I know it's dated, but I really do love my tub now because it has the surround built around it.
Okay, but so going back, now we've learned a lot about Pam and Greg. And your bathtub, but I do love
our bathtub follies.
Yes, seriously, I do love the top down idea in a bathroom. I think that's great. For kids' rooms, I love Roman shades that are mounted outside mount, a few inches from the ceiling. So even if your window...
So you can cheat the window.
Right. It makes your windows look huge. And I tend to listen, you can either do a great pattern or you can do a plain and then run like a really good looking tape on either side. And what I like to do with the Roman shades is I always do operable, but I don't want my kids to use them because of the wear and tear. So I will hide... cheap, but good, really great, useful white roller shades, blackout roller shades
that they can
underneath.
Easily. One of the things
just pull up and down.
You can do the roller shades. The other thing you could do is a spring-loaded pull down on your Roman shade.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's just a slight pull.
Yeah.
And you can feel it, and then it just kind of goes up and down.
Will you do that on the actual shade? So the actual upholstered shade. You're not talking about the roller shade behind. You're talking
I'm talking about they put like a small bar at the bottom.
Yeah.
That you just grab onto, but you have to be a person that's careful about dirty hands, and the fabric has to be very forgiving.
Yep.
But I have those in Florida, and I like them.
So one other thing I really love that's such a luxury is I love the automated shades. So I have...
Yes, but the more automation you get in your home,
the
more chance it's going to get broken.
True.
Batteries need to be changed.
True.
Something goes wrong.
Well, so that's why not for kids' rooms. I think just in the master bedroom, although I also have it in my...
Or you can get the Lutron, which a lot of the new homes are building in.
But to me, it is so nice in my master bedroom to just be able to wake up and push a button and
or set it for a certain time.
You can set it. I also have it in my mudroom, which is where we have a window door, back door in our mudroom, and I have a shade that comes up and down, and it's electronic because in the very first days of Teddy Hayworth being part of our gang, he was very alerted by the dog next door who used to like walk by. And so our upholsterer, Ralph, who, we all use on our design team, literally I called him and I was like, I need a dog shade. He's like, what is that? And I was like, I needed a shade for my mudroom where my dog sleeps. And so it was just hilarious. For like a month, we were going back and forth on like, what's the status of the dog shade? When is it coming? But you are right that the dog shade did run out of batteries at one point, and we sort of panicked. Right. And we had to charge it.
I think, with home design, automation is becoming so important.
Yep.
But it also, unfortunately, takes you out of the equation and understanding your needs.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's the benefit of walking over to your window and sort of opening your shade yourself and looking out the window. So can we just talk about, some of the harder things in life give you some of the biggest blessings?
Okay.
Right? So like opening up your curtains and seeing and getting, fresh air and looking outside as opposed to just sort of waking up and, it's all automatic.
Yep.
And I tend to be a person that is a little hesitant to move towards too much automation.
So are you not doing a ton in your new house?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a lot of window treatments. I'm going to have a higher hedge.
Yeah.
So I can block the lights of the cars and they can't really look into the first floor.
Right.
Second floor, I'll have window treatments. But the first floor, I tend to like open spaces.
Yeah.
Fresh air, things like that. So I think.
Well, and I think that you're right that there has been a movement generally towards fewer window treatments and adornments. And, I love that in my two sort of formal rooms on the first floor, I have panels and pattern panels. And then as you move towards the back of my house, I have, all the mullions on the first floor, which are the window panes are painted black. And I just, in my office, which is also sort of a sunroom, I just have a wall of windows. Same thing over, in my kitchen. And I do just love that with this, and one other just, since we're talking about drapery, is one other thing sometimes clients will come to me and say is, fine, I'm happy not to do drapery or blinds on my first floor, but the sun is so powerful. And, I will sometimes look at the outside and see if you can install an awning that can come out
or
and block some of the sun.
There are a lot of different types of window treatments actually for the glass as well.
That's right. That's right.
But going back to the window treatments for the downstairs, sometimes I will do the panels this very close in color to the wall.
I love that.
So that it doesn't feel like
I
do not, this idea that your panels jump out at you.
Yep.
That's not always my thing.
I
get it when it's pattern on pattern and that's sort of, there's that just juxtaposition.
Yeah.
But for me, I like a room to have a little bit of quietness when it comes to panels. I don't want it to be like the pigtails in the room.
Right.
So I will choose something very tone on tone and simple.
I love that. No, I think that's really nice too. And I think that
and my hardware is my go-to hardware.
Yeah.
Again, would be a brass, acrylic, or bronze.
Yeah. When you say acrylic, like a lucite rod. Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And the less hardware seen, the better for me.
Me too.
The idea of these like finials.
Oh, yeah.
And the rods. Oh, wait. The rods with the, what do you call it? With the sort of ridges.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, that's it. Okay, so that
Those
is
are
also
so bad.
That's guys, if you are refreshing your houses,
get rid of your Pottery Barn rods and finials.
That's a dead giveaway that it was done long ago. The balls on the ends or the thick wood, get rid of that and update and
or just strip it down, people. Get naked. Live in like a house with no drapery.
Yeah. Well, one other
do your little TikTok.
Wait, are you
in the window?
Are you going with our metaphor?
Yeah.
Of like, does the carpet match the drapes?
Go with hardscape.
Yeah. Go with hardscape. But so
not a lot of shag.
Before we get to our Gussie for today, one thing I did just want to mention that I know you and I were talking about beforehand is for those of you who are designing for yourselves, there are so many great options out there, like the Shade Store, which there are.
For window treatments, there are. I'm actually shocked at Home Depot's woods and blinds and things like that.
Yep.
I mean, there are price points that work for everyone. And the other thing is, you can also get some window treatments at resale places. There are resale. Places that sell great window treatments. And you can always take a window treatment like panels. So you find some panels at a consignment shop and you love it, you can take it to your window person. They can strip the fabric off and make a Roman shade out of it.
Absolutely.
Fabric is fabric, people.
Right. Well, right. That's a really good point. And at some point we'll have to do a show about vintage fabrics, because I actually feel like people...
It's not even vintage. Even if like sometimes I'll go into a consignment shop or a resale shop and find a fabulous pair of Pierre Frey drapes that someone spent $20,000 on because they're lined, double lined, weighted, everything. Right. And then if I love the fabric and it's well priced, I'll buy the drapery, strip the fabric off and reuse it to cover, an ottoman or a chair or a headboard. Fabric is fabric. Yep. You can repurpose fabric.
Well, and just, if you are someone who loves fabric, I think one of the things that people struggle with who are designing for themselves but are like fabric nuts is just that a lot of fabric is sold to the trade. There are websites that do offer where you can buy fabric that's sold to the trade, like Etsy. And there are also, you can have someone on Etsy make panels for you.
That's true. And a lot of places to get some stock of fabrics that are difficult to get. eBay.
Yep.
Etsy.
Cherish. Yeah.
Consignment shops.
Yep.
These are all places. And to the trade, I feel like is sort of a misnomer now because, nothing really is to the trade anymore.
But
it's
just
it's a little bit open.
Be resourceful and I just don't want anyone to think that because they don't have a designer, they can't have beautiful, tailored, custom looking Romans or drapes. And certainly when it comes to wood blinds and shades, look at the shade store, look at Home Depot, look at your local resources, because, you can go out and do that. So on that note, should we get to, do you want to say it, Pam? Do you want to say, should we get to today's Gussie?
No, we have to. Okay. Should we get to today's Gussie?
Yes,
music,
Pam.
please?
Chris, music. I like it. I know you feel like it sounds Disney, but I'm liking it. We'll see. Maybe one of these days, Chris, our producer, will surprise us with something. And we'll be like totally shocked. All right. So today's The Gussie is we're talking carpets, and we're talking our 5 sort of favorite, and it's always hard to say favorite when you're talking about, like your children, you love them all, but some 5 great kinds of carpets that you guys should all be keeping your eyes out for.
Okay. So the first one, I would like to just talk about indoor-outdoor carpets.
Yeah.
Because these have become the rage now.
Yeah.
Everyone wants indoor-outdoor.
Yes.
So, the polypropylene, the synthetic nylon carpets.
Yep. It's an indoor-outdoor carpet.
Right?
And it's just great for basements.
Yeah. The designs have come so much further in terms of the last few years.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable what you can get in terms of an outdoor carpet.
Even like synthetic carpets can have great designs. And that didn't used to be the case. Yeah.
The problem is outdoor carpets used to be always sold at places like a Walmart or things like that. And they were always like the same sort of style.
Yeah.
Blah. They were blah.
Yeah.
Now things
no
are
more
changing.
blah. Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. So what's next?
Well, of course, we love good sisals and jutes, anything that gives us a lot of coverage at great price points.
And that sort of like natural, raw look. I mean, I used to... I love a sisal. I've been sort of right now recently been a little more interested in some of those sort of like silkier, I think they're jute, but the sort of thicker, silkier, knotted ones. Is it jute?
Yes, it's jute. The really thick ones.
Yeah.
I love...
Like a braided border. I love that.
I love a wool sisal. It's the mix.
Yeah.
It's not as forgiving.
Yep.
But it's got... I love when the carpet sits really flat.
Yeah.
In certain rooms, like in a dining room.
Now, do wool sisals look like sisals or
no.
like wool carpets?
No, they look they look like sisals, but they have like a different sheen and definitely a different feel and texture.
Okay.
Well, so I do like that.
Wool is our next.
Yes, we just love good wool looped.
Yeah. And, you know, that to me is that's such a mainstay. I love it in a bedroom. We had talked about it earlier. I love it in a kid's room. You know, with, you know, for a boy, like a great stripe, or, I love a sort of, for a girl's room, I love a sort of like Greek key-esque looking pattern, sort of interwoven.
But wools are expensive.
Really expensive.
They're very expensive. So choose wisely.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're working with a conservative budget, you might want to choose the wool for, like I said, the bedrooms and the sleeping rooms, and do sort of the more inexpensive carpets
in the high
traffic areas. Yeah. We love Flocattis.
Flocattis. I just love saying it.
I know. Which I was for a long time calling it flotakis.
I know. Well, when you said flotaki, and I was like, oh my God.
Sometimes I do that with words.
But I was like, have I been misreading that? Because I do that sometimes too.
It's probably
Flocati.
Me. So Flocati, those rugs are great. We all know them as the
shag.
The real thick shag rugs. Yeah. They're Greek. It's a Greek word, Greek origin. And,
I mean, we think of that. I mean, the like historical connotation, right? Is like, Austin Powers, you know, mood lamps,
it's the 60s. You know, the 60s. But it's also because we've had such a run on mid-century furniture in the last few years, you know, the great mid-century people, you know, they like Alvar Aalto and Ray Eames and Arnie Jacobson. These are people that used Flocattis to add texture and warmth, because a lot of the times they were using furniture that was really scaled back and pared down.
Wait, didn't you tell me Jackie Kennedy?
Yes. So Jackie Kennedy used Flocattis. Anything Jackie does, we should do.
I mean,
just in general.
For sure.
So when she was married to the Greek
Aristotle
Onassis, I believe they were renovating a home in Scorpios or
isn't that his private island?
Yeah. And she ushered in the use
to be
of
renovating a house on a private island sounds amazing.
I know. So Jackie wanted to bring in authentic Greek style to this home, and be representative of, you know, the Greek traditions. And Flocattis were, you know, a Greek tradition where they would shear the wool and create these rugs and wash them in the rivers and the water and use them on beds and floors, anything that was surface that they needed.
I mean, sort of in today's context, they're super cozy. You know, we tend to use sort of, you know, acrylic or faux.
Synthetics. We use synthetics, and they're also machine made, whereas Flocattis back then were all made by hand. They were traditionally looped by hand.
So I have done a few. You know, obviously we use them to layer as well in the living room or an office. That's a great look. Right. But I've actually done it in a master bedroom. And let me tell you, it is the coziest bedroom.
It was a really long hair? Or was it
pretty long hair?
See, that kind of skeeves me out.
I know, because you're worried
because
about
I just think of like all the toe stuff getting into the carpet. It just grosses me out.
Here's my sort of caveat with that is that, you know, the master bedroom is actually not a super high traffic place.
Right. And it's often a shoe-free zone. When I'm opening the door to people coming over to my home and they'll ask me, should I take off my shoes?
Yeah.
I feel strange asking them to take off their shoes.
Yeah.
Even though I ask my children and my husband to take off their shoes. But I feel like it's a little like it's asking too much.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, no, hold on. We all
watched
that Sex in the City where like Carrie goes to the party. She has to take her shoes off, and you know, her shoes are $1,000.
First of all, I would not go to a party.
I know.
If they asked me to take off my shoes at a party, that's abhorrent.
And then,
first of all, I don't know if my toes are done. What happened if I had closed toe shoes on?
I know.
Like, unless I'm wearing sandals.
I know.
You know.
Or how about when you're wearing, like, tights? Like, not, you know, no one wears pantyhose anywhere. But like.
You're the only one who wears tights and pantyhose.
No, I do not wear pantyhose. I do not wear pantyhose, but I do wear, listen, I love a
You love tights.
I love a good Wolford, you know, like Argyle tight with a cute skirt. Oh, I like that. But the problem is if you've ever been asked to take your shoes off when you have those on, you look like you have webbed feet. It's like a witch's foot, right? It's so, you cannot look cool wearing tights without shoes.
Well, the other thing is if you're at a party and someone asks you to take off your shoes, you've just lost like 2 or 3 inches of height, which means technically you've gained 20 pounds.
Well, but also if your pants are hemmed, if you're wearing pants, and I have a few really great high waist, if
and
your
then
pants
they're
are
dragging.
you're standing in a puddle of pants. That's happened to me before, and it's just like, I'm like, but my hem, and I have been at, I will
just look at the host or the hostess and say, pay to have your carpets cleaned tomorrow.
Just suck it up.
Spend $300 or $400.
I totally agree. But anyway, the Sex and the City, the famous, where then, she goes at the end and everyone's collected their shoes and her shoes are gone. And her Manolas. I know her Manolas are gone. And she's sort of like, the owner is like not apologetic. The hostess is not apologetic and like sends her home with like hideous shoes. And Gary keeps calling and being like, any chance those shoes turned up? But I mean, genius. So good. All right. So we got to get to our last one, our very last carpet. And we've talked about this before. It's been featured on other Gussies and other, is the Persian vintage carpet.
Handmade, hand-knotted rugs. Yep. Let's just call them hand-knotted rugs because the Chinese silk rugs are some of my favorite. Gorgeous, and by the way, have really come up.
Turkish rugs.
Persian rugs. Yeah. Anything that uses hand weaving, hand knotting, silk. Yeah. Those are gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Those are pieces of art. And matter of fact, because they sort of went out of fashion for a little bit, for like a nanosecond, I think it's getting harder to find really good rugs like that. Yeah. And their value is going up. So don't get rid of those rugs, peeps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are good rugs. Good rugs. Good layering, adds color, adds texture, adds, a traveled look.
Yeah. And as we always say, adds that patina and that feeling of a life well lived in a room that has something that's older than you.
Right. And I've recently been seeing those rugs showing up in bathrooms.
Oh, I love that. Or kitchens.
Yes. Oh, well, the kitchen runner, things like that, those are staple. But I saw one recently. I mean, it pairs so well, these colors, with sort of the modern farmhouse look.
Totally.
So you'll get this sort of like the cerused washed oak.
Yep.
You'll get a lot of those like bronze features, and then you throw in a hand-knotted rug.
Studio McGee, that sort of look with the farmhouse. I think that's so great, and nothing better than in the winter to step onto like a soft carpet instead of cold tiles.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's it.
I think we got it. We got our Gussie down.
We got Gussied up.
We hope you guys enjoyed it today. We did.
And let people come into your home with shoes. Just suck it up and get your carpets cleaned. It's just right. I mean, it's just really the hospitable thing to do.
Exactly. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to The Gussie so you never miss an episode.
For more of The Gussie, please check out our blog at thegussie.com and follow us on Instagram at The Gussie Show. See you next time.